Hey guys, this is feedback on module 4 from the 21st of December 2021. Not too much to say about the halftone quiz, and you got the solutions there. So let's go into identifying halftones. Halftone, 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 yes, shadow, shadow, shadow. So the only point where I am not sure I agree is in here. Sorry. And there we go, in here. That could still be a dark halftone. If I'm looking at the tonal value of the shadows, shadow, 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 then this feels really light. And maybe I can use a color picker. Pick one of the shadows, not the darkest, like not the occlusion shadow in here, but a shadow there. And if I paint this tone in here, that feels quite a lot darker. So I would say we can make this a halftone together with everything that's happening here and here, probably even here. It's hard to tell if this is some hair, like beard here, that triangle, or not. If not, then that might be a little bit of shadow right in there. Scanning. Yeah, nice images. Good examples here of halftones. Halftone. This one is tricky, but I would probably classify this as halftone as well. And then have the terminator go through here, 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 and cast shadow line here, and then a bit of terminator again, something like this. I like the helmet here. Shadow halftone, yep. In here, I don't see how that can be a halftone. Maybe it's a tiny area that's lighter, that's now covered with the yellow dot. Otherwise, this would probably all be form shadowing there. Everything else is looking like I agree with it. Yeah. Nice also to show the terminator here. Same here. Looking good. Yeah, you know, I like that the terminator or the deform shadows are indicated in some of these images. I think we're going to add that to the assignment instructions, because once you do that, it becomes really clear. Everything that's outside the shadow family has to be a halftone. So good, good, good. Yeah, nice. This is tough, very soft lighting. But yeah, probably there's cast shadow from the hair. Not sure about this terminator. It's so soft. I think that's all form light. I'll probably put the terminator down at the chin. This I would probably call shadow. So terminator here, and then terminator again down here. Yeah, I agree with everything in this image. You're choosing tough images, Tony. Soft light. But I guess that's good. More challenging to make decisions. On here, I think the answer would be does not apply or something like this, because it's a, if I understand that correctly, it's a highly specular material. So that line is not a terminator. It's just that over here we're reflecting the dark wall, and over here we're reflecting, or we're seeing the reflection of the sky. So to talk about shadow and halftone in the sense of modeling with a terminator in between, I think is not applicable on materials that are so shiny. But if you're thinking lighter values and darker values, then you can do a grouping like that, and it would still be helpful to organize the tones. And then the perfect egg assignment. I am trying to learn you guys' names, so Gasha, Gasia, or Gassi, I'm not sure, but please let me know if I mispronounce your name. And I think you left a great comment in the assignment. One second while this loads and I get to your comment. Gasiadokro. Yeah, I'm not sure which part is your first name and last name, or if it's just a handle. So let me know if you care about me pronouncing your name. Finally, I could stop just copying a photo. Now you can see what is going on in shading, regardless of skillfulness of assignment. Amazing. Anyway, I submit as I committed. Yeah, that's so cool to hear. Sounds like you're getting more freedom through your understanding. So watching real, watching photo. So here drawing from life, and here drawing from the photograph, I assume. I actually like your rendering of the lights more in your upper image here than from life. This feels like we're getting into that dirty lights territory, and I can see it in the photograph, and maybe that's one of the reasons why drawing from life is a good idea. I think we can afford, let me do that on a separate layer. I think we can afford to go lighter in all your lights, all your halftones, and then hit the specular and center light, maybe even a bit of glow. Okay, so that could be overdone. And yeah, I did too much, but the point hopefully is clear. If we go back to your image, there's a more noticeable difference between specular and then the middle halftones before we get into the dark halftones. And I tried to unify all of that and brighten it up. So that's on a separate layer. I can turn it down until it feels good. Your penumbra is getting soft a little too suddenly for my taste. So I think I would soften that a bit more gradually. Do we have all layers? Yeah. Not sure why that wasn't behaving as I was expecting. But yeah, if you're having a soft penumbra, make sure it's softening gradually, not suddenly. It will just look more natural. Good work. Jean-François, I think is your name, or Jeff. Setup, final egg, line drawing. Did I get this file twice? Looks identical. Let me check, I'll just switch back and forth. Ah, right. Here with strong reflected light, and here that has been corrected. Yeah, I think this looks much better. In this case, I wonder if we can afford a few more dark halftones. The photograph is a bit overexposed, so I can't get that much information about the values and the lights from the photograph. But just from my experience looking at this drawing, I wonder if we could do something like this. And I'll also exaggerate a little bit, so we can turn it off and on again. I painted into the shadows, I didn't mean to, so let me get rid of that. So we're only affecting the dark halftones. I think we're getting a bit more volume, and again, this might be too strong, so we can turn it down to something like this. I'm gonna be very nitpicky. I love doing that, you know, really pushing the refinement. Aesthetically, I am drawn to the lid that this egg is sitting on, and these lines, although they're very thin, very fine, it looks like the artist, you, hasn't given this area the attention that it might deserve, because it's an area of high value contrast right here through this edge. So we have a very dark tone and then all of a sudden very light again. So the eye is going to go here. And let me take a look at the reference. So yeah, it is not a white lid. So what you could do to have this less visually important is give it a bit of tone. Sorry, that was way too much opacity, but I'm gonna keep going with my brushstroke and then lower the opacity of this. So we could do something like that, for example, and now the egg is the star that it deserves to be. And then probably form shadow. Hard to see the form shadow. I was wondering if it could go darker. And then just giving a bit more attention on these lines. Maybe something like this. I should stop. We can fiddle forever with these things, and sometimes it is worth it to put many hours into these drawings. All right, I'm going to move on. Good work, Jeff. Tony, as mentioned, I think by Jeff in the comments, there's a bit of dirty lights happening here. And we might stretch your egg, and since this is digital, we can just do this. And maybe this to match the angle. And then, yeah, take a lighter value and we can brighten your halftones. Something like this. What else? There's a bit of a drawing difference in where your cast shadow starts. Over here. So I think you could start there. We can paint in the background like so. You could play with edge variation. Just trying to think what principle I would use to guide me with that. I think I would sharpen the edge here and then let it be softer around here and then sharpen it again here. So hard, soft, hard. You could do that just with a small brush, precise brush. Right now I'm adding a darker value, which is maybe not necessary. And a lot of people confuse sharp edge with value contrast. But what I'm focusing on, maybe it's easier with the background color. Painting against your egg and just really sharpening the transition. Sharpening it here as well, and then I'll really emphasize it, like exaggerate it. You could soften over here. Not this much, obviously. What you have is probably fine. And then if this looks too digital for you, you can add some texture with cross-hatching. You can do it on a separate layer and then decide how much of that you want to show, or with a texture brush. Adding some texture, maybe smudging it. There's many different ways if you want it to look less digital, also in the background. All right, and why innocent? I have to look up who this is again. Wait, did I miss it? Oh, this might be up here. Ivan. Oops. Sorry about that. Here we go. Cool setup, cool composition. Interesting. This looks like the egg is a photograph, but the background is digital, is painted. I'm not sure, or just a 3D render. It's interesting. I assume this is your reference, and then you've drawn this. But I'm not sure because that looks so digital down here. One difference I see is that your form light is much darker. So we could bring more light, much more light into your form light. Specular reflection. And then probably your reflected light as well. Something like this. And there was a comment that the front here would probably be getting less reflected light because there's no floor in front of it, but a dark plane facing down. And that's true, depending on how close there will be another floor plane here that's reflecting light back up. But looks like there's quite a bit of space. So yeah, could be that darkening the tip here. Sorry, I should do that on a separate layer. So removing some of the reflected light could add realism. All right, we are through for today. Thank you for watching and thank you for putting in the work. See you soon.